Hello, hello. So today's gonna be a really hot topic, very highly requested, but something I'm seeing a lot of people struggle with right now. So I really wanted to get on here and talk about it. So definitely go get your notebook, your journal, get a pen, get something to write this down with, because this is really key to your entire level up, especially as a feminine woman. Especially as we talk about dating and moving into dating for marriage and dating masculine provider men. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm looking down, I have my notes right here because I have a lot to share with you. So one thing that I've realized is that one, women don't know how to attract masculine provider men. And two, they also don't know how to recognize a masculine man whenever they're in their presence. A lot of women today really have no clue how to even recognize whenever one is right in front of them. And I think what happens for the men is that they feel, and tell me in the comments if I'm right or wrong, but they feel really unappreciated. They're like, I'm showing up as this masculine guy, or I'm doing the masculine things, I'm providing, I'm protecting, and these women don't want me to open doors for them, or these women want to go 50-50 on dates. These women want or don't want me to do certain things. They can't receive. And so those are the main complaints I'm seeing from the men's side of things. And so there's just this huge confusion of women wanting men to do something differently, because a lot of women out there are not happy with the way that men are being right now. We'll get into it, but there's a lot of confusion. I'm here to clear it up. I'm here to help you know how to recognize a man whenever he is in his masculine and he is trying to give to you and provide for you, protect you, and whatnot, and you could potentially be rejecting it. Actually, most likely you are. So that's okay, because we can always change ourselves. We can change our own actions, what we accept, what we see. We can change our beliefs. So whenever I say that something is your fault, or I say it to myself too, so don't worry, you're not the only one. But whenever I say that something is most likely your fault, recognize that as a really good thing, because that means that you can change it. If something's not your fault and it's completely out of your control, well, then there's nothing you can really do about it. And so I think that it's way more empowering to, I don't want to say over blame yourself, but just take responsibility. Just literally take the time, where I know most people don't do this, but just set aside the ego, drop the ego, and just allow yourself to realize that you might be the problem to some degree. Or you could be behaving in a certain way that doesn't get the reaction that you want. And that's okay, because there's another video I'm gonna do about self-love and what it really is. But something I wrote down for that, which is really applicable here, is that self-love is not knowing better and then doing the opposite of that and then trying to be okay with it. Self-love is forgiving yourself for not knowing better in the past, but now that you do know better, you're always doing better moving forward. So let's get into what the video is actually about, because this is something that I know so many women need help with and are interested in. And all of this is like very in depth in my courses, especially Divine Feminine Dating. But I wanted to just give a little sneak peek into it in this video first. So you're going to have to retrain your brain. You're going to have to retrain what you see. Retrain your eyes, retrain what you recognize, retrain what you are seeing the reality put in front of you. Now, if this seems like, oh, that's really delusional, not really. I know we've all heard, I know when people explain law of attraction, they explain it with like, oh, if there's a, if there are cars going down the road, you're not really gonna notice this specific one unless somebody's like, oh, look at the gray Mercedes on the road. And then they all start to pop out to you, right? So it's kind of the same thing. If you don't even know what you're looking for, how are you supposed to spot it? How are you supposed to recognize it? So let's see what I wrote down. I wrote down some good stuff. So you have to retrain your brain away from what society has conditioned you to think about men. And this is gonna help you in every area of life, so you have to retrain your brain with this. Step away from the super ultra feministy narrative where men are trash, men are garbage, all of that. It's not true. It's not true 100% of the time. So why are we even voicing this all the time? This is something that I'm so glad I have not, like my friends now would never say that. Like we love men, we love masculine men, we love true masculinity, and we love what men do in the world. They keep us safe, and this is not just physically. This is also energetically. Whenever you're around masculine men, you feel safe. And if you don't, something is wounded. Something is wounded, and there's some sort of wounded masculine within you, and that's okay because you can fix it. So why are people always complaining about men are trash, hating men, all that sort of stuff? Why are they complaining about it? And if you hate something so much, then why do you spend so much time complaining about it? There's a question that I'm sure the ladies here are not complaining about this, but this is still something that's probably deep in your subconscious because this is how we have been literally trained. If you look at TV shows or, I don't really watch TV, but I can think about this from my past whenever I've, seen shows and whatnot. There are dads, and I don't know if any of y'all watch Hamza, but he talks about this a lot, and this is where I noticed it. So he would say, if you do watch TV shows, you can notice that like the men, the dads are always kind of these stupid, idiotic men who are like, oh, they can't do anything right. Like the wife has to nag them all the time. They're so stupid. They can't pick out the right groceries, all that sort of stuff. And so we have been subconsciously wired through media, through, news, TV shows, through social media to believe that masculinity is stupid, to believe that men are dumb and incapable. And from my understanding, from talking to people from different cultures, from different countries, this is such a Western thing that men are portrayed that way. And so it's kind of like, well, what came first? Are men really like that? The men I know aren't like that. My dad's not like that. My partner's not like that. So why is it portrayed that way? And so you have to kind of be like, well, yeah, what came first? Like, are men starting to act like that? Well, actually, I really don't know any men who act like that. So it's just this portrayed thing. And then it's almost like a stereotype. And then women are kind of conditioned to see men in that way. And I'm sure that there's stereotypes about women too that have been portrayed in media and whatnot. I don't know. I don't live in that reality. I really don't. So I couldn't tell you what that is. But let's go back to what I was saying at first. So why are people always complaining about men if they hate men? Why do you I don't complain that vegan food is disgusting because I just want a juicy medium rare ribeye. So I'm not going to sit around and complain about vegan food because I'm not going to eat it. I don't want it. I don't care about it. It's not something that I even, it's not in my reality, right? So why are people complaining about men? There's something that one of my coaches told me a long time ago. And basically it's like behind every complaint is a desire. And that is very, very true. I notice myself, if I ever start to complain, I'll just be like, okay, I'm just complaining over here. My ego is getting a kick out of it. What do I want? What do I want? Like, what's my underlying desire with this? And why am I communicating it in a way where I'm complaining whenever I could just ask for what I want, right? So behind every complaint is a desire. So if someone is complaining about how bad men are and how men are trash and garbage and all that, well, then they obviously want the opposite. They want men to not be garbage. They want men to be capable. They want, they want that in their reality, and they don't even realize that that's actually the desire behind it. So take that in for a second. If you are consistently complaining about something in your life, whether, I just got done adding a lot of modules to my Abundant Angels course, so money is on my mind because we talk a lot about money in there. But if you continuously complain about not having money or not having enough, or complain about being broke, or you have a desire to not be that way. And what I notice is whenever I interact with the 3D world and people who are not into self-improvement, into inner work and stuff like that, what I notice is, everyone loves to spew their limiting beliefs, especially around money. And what I notice too is that it starts to become this little relatable sob story thing. And honestly, it's really cringe. Like, no shame to people, I guess, who do that. Like, I'm not even trying to judge, but if I can bring one word to describe how I feel, I get like secondhand embarrassment. I'm just like, if you knew what you were doing right now, and this goes for talking about men too, like you're probably repelling men if you're continuously complaining like this, or repelling the healthy masculine ones. It's like, if you knew how powerful your beliefs and your thoughts and your words are, you would not be talking about money this way. You would not be talking about men this way. You would not be talking about anything in the way that you did not want it. Like, even if you don't believe in law of attraction, how is it ever going to help you to continuously complain about something? I even see, YouTube videos. I don't watch them, but the titles, or TikToks that pop up or something like that, or shorts, where it's like you start to end up listening to them because you scroll, and then you just end up listening to them. And it's like, people have a lot of problems, but not a lot of, they don't want the solutions to them. And so people get into these like sob story, I don't know, that's the way they start to relate to people. So I'm getting off on a tangent here, but it's like, that's the way girls start to relate to each other, is trash talking men. Now, if we're trash talking behaviors, I guess that's a bit different. Like that's a step up from there. That's progress. But if you really want to go deep and change your reality and change the type of men that you're attracting into your life, and like, of course, if men are listening to this, like, you can flip this for women too, right? What do men believe about women that's toxic? I'm trying to think. Okay, so something I used to hear a lot on my TikTok was like, oh, women use men for money, or some shit like that, right? And it's like, well, masculine men obviously value the feminine energy and want to give, want to provide. So like, we don't even live in the reality where people think that. And I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there are women who do that out there. I'm sure that there are. But if that's what you're focused on all the time as a man, that's probably what you're going to attract in your life, because that's all you can see. That's all you can see. And so same for men, or same for women who are seeing men as garbage, incapable, only wanting to go 50-50 with them, feminine, beta, like whatever words you want to use, you got to stop seeing it. Because once you are not energetically available for that, you actually kind of become blind to it. Like, I don't even see men like that anymore. I really don't. I don't. It doesn't exist in my reality. And so once you become that set on that, and that set on leveling up money beliefs, beliefs about men, beliefs about really anything, because what I've noticed is like, once I elevate one area of beliefs, whether that be about men and money, that the two M's, they're just on my mind right now because of the courses I've been teaching. But once you level up those beliefs in any area, they start to go into other areas too, and you really can't forget them. You can't just level up in one area. Like, I can't have amazing beliefs about men, but like super limiting and scarce beliefs about wealth, or about friends, or about taking care of myself, stuff like that. It just doesn't go hand in hand, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. It really is. It's how you do everything. Like, you can't have a super clean car, but then your house is, or you can't keep a clean car, but then you have no clue how to organize your house and keep it clean, or something like that, right? So how you do one thing is how you do everything. Be very careful with that. Okay. So I actually have nothing else written down for this, so we're just gonna go ahead and freestyle here. So, oops. So more ways about being able to recognize a man who is masculine. So this is going to be a lot easier if you had an example in your life, maybe a brother, an uncle, a father, a grandfather, who was very much in his healthy masculine energy, who was a provider for you, who protected you, who was there for you all the time. This is going to genuinely be a lot easier for women who had that in their life. I was very lucky to have that. For women who didn't, it's okay. You're just going to have to retrain your brain and take notes here and listen, and just start to understand and start to see examples of this in your life now, because I'm sure not 100% of the men that you're around right now are feminine, incapable, and all of that, right? And I also want to say, this is a really, really big part, is that, all right, say that you start to change your beliefs and you start to believe, okay, yeah, like men are masculine, men are capable, they can help me. You know, I like when they're in their masculine energy. I love that. I love when men want to help me. I love when people love to help me in general. I can receive because I'm in my feminine energy. It feels good. It feels safe, right? But you realize that maybe the men you're attracting for dates or the men you're attracting romantically still are not fully in their masculine energy. That's a reflection of you. That's a reflection of yourself. So one of the best ways, which I always tell my clients this, because I swear if they're not already dating, right, whenever they come to me to work with me to attract masculine men, maybe they haven't started dating yet, right? Maybe we need to do some work beforehand on their limiting beliefs, on their masculine energy, their feminine energy, before they're ready for that. So whenever they start to date, what I tell them is like, if they're feeling a little anxious, the men that you're going to attract and go on dates with are going to be a direct mirror for you to see how much progress you've made with your inner work and how much you have really embodied your feminine energy. Because if you're still attracting men who, you know, somewhat masculine, because we can still be somewhat feminine sometimes, but have a hard time turning off our masculine energy, especially when we're in a relationship, having that polarity. Sometimes when, you know, at the beginning of doing our inner work, we just have a little bit of a harder time turning it off at first because it takes some practice. We've been doing it for years. We've been conditioned to be in our masculine energy, conditioned to believe that our self-worth is based on our degrees, our masculine accomplishments, our career, stuff like that. And so that's what we've all been conditioned in the West to believe. If you haven't been conditioned this way, then consider yourself very, very lucky. And so moving away from that, you do feel a little bit lost, like, well, where is my self-worth, right? And that's something that you need to answer for yourself. You need to figure that out for yourself. Because if I just tell you, it's not going to be near as powerful as like you coming to the realization. So if you get anything from this video, even just get that, because that's how you can switch into your feminine and truly feel valuable in your feminine. So getting back to dating, it'll be an exact mirror of where you're at. And just know, you don't have to marry any of these men that you start to go on dates with, right? Like maybe you just aren't ready. Maybe they aren't ready yet, and that's okay. But that will start to show you exactly where you are at in your level up process, in your feminine energy, so that you can become the best feminine version of yourself. So just know that this is a reflection of how far you have come. And it's just going to keep getting better the more that you do your inner work. And if you're already in a relationship, the way that, this could turn into a whole nother video, but if you notice, there are some women, and I noticed this in myself and like my past self too, there was a version of me that did not get spoiled, did not get treated amazingly. It was not, and I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking emotionally, having someone who's emotionally available. I don't like to use that term because I think it's a little, I think whenever I use that term, most people think, oh, I want a man who is emotionally available. I want a man who is connected to his feminine, which yes, that's, of course, you don't want someone completely imbalanced, but let me rephrase that. Someone who can hold me in their masculine container. That's what I mean by emotionally available too. Is, you know, the feminine is going to be more in tune with her intuition, with her emotions, with, you know, she's not this like linear line, this like cage thing. Like, no, the feminine's more wild, sporadic, emotional, intuitive, creative, like a burst of color. The words are coming to mind and I'm just saying them. So that's how I would describe it, right? And so if a man does not have the masculine container, a healthy masculine container to hold that and contain that, and many women are kind of like, oh, like, I don't want a man to control me or contain me or, you know, but that's kind of the point of being in a relationship with a masculine man. is having that container there so that you can actually feel safe in your feminine and literally just feel like a playful child. Like, I don't know how better to describe it, but you can relax, you can be feminine, you don't have to worry about anything because you're provided for and you're protected. Our nervous system can shut off. Well, our fight or flight mode can shut off. And we can just be. We can just be. That's the feminine, is being. The masculine is doing. So, that's huge. And you may have to retrain your brain to even see that part of the masculine energy as a good thing. What I've noticed is that so many women are, it makes me sad, but stuck in this hyper independent mode. And let me go back to what I was saying just a second ago, where there are some women who get treated like a queen. I mean, we've all seen it, right? You possibly would get super jealous of it if you didn't know how to attract it yourself. And then there are women who don't really get treated well. And that's me looking back at my past self too. Getting into abusive situations, becoming a girlfriend. Obviously those two are very different, but I'm just saying, like, these are things that I accepted into my life that I would no longer accept. So getting into abusive situations, putting up with someone being extremely codependent or a man in their feminine energy who just won't be in their masculine, dealing with, so let's get into masculine providers for a second. Sorry, my cat just walked up and is judging me, but let's get into masculine providers for a second. But before I hop around, I will finish my thought. Okay, so there was a version of me that accepted that. Well, the new version of me only accepts being committed to through a ring and marriage. That's it. That's it. And so that's what I receive, because that's all I will accept. So just know, it's not like women get lucky with dating a man who is a provider and dating someone who wants to spoil them financially, emotionally, whatever way they want to be spoiled. It's not an accident. It's not getting lucky. It is the fact that you don't accept less than that. If you're dating a man who gives you less than that, how can, you've already accepted that from him. Why would all of a sudden, I mean, that's great if he does, but if you're like, oh, well, you can't date me anymore because I need this now. And he's like, okay, well, we've been going 50-50 this whole time, and now you want me to provide fully? Sorry, I'm not even capable of that, And it's not that he's necessarily bad for that. I mean, you accepted it in the first place. So that's why it's really, really important to have your standards and all of that in check before you get into the relationship, before you start dating. And when I say get into the relationship, I mean get proposed to. I don't mean become a girlfriend. I've been there. I'm sure many women have been there, but it's not a good place to be. I will make a completely different video on this, but if you've never heard this before, really think about it. What does a girlfriend mean? To me, it means a placeholder until he either decides that, okay, I guess, I've been dating her for a long time, so I guess I just have to propose because, societal pressure, but I don't really want to, but it's cool. I don't think anyone better will come along. That's what a girlfriend is. Or it's a placeholder until he finds someone who, and I hate saying this sort of stuff because it sounds scarce, but it's actually true. And it's just the harsh reality of it. It's until he finds someone that, he wants to marry, right then. Maybe you date for 10 years and then that happens. I don't know. But don't do it. Don't put yourself there. It is lowering your self-worth. Only the Western society has being a girlfriend. From what I've heard at least, other cultures, other countries don't do that. Don't do it. Okay, so moving on. Let me see if I can remember what I was talking about. So getting into the masculine providers. Okay, so there's a lot of, I think women judge themselves internally because there's a lot of exterior judgment, which, one, don't listen to. Don't listen to. You don't need to search for the validation outside of yourself. You don't need some random man in YouTube comments telling you that it is okay or not okay to want a man to provide for you. Like, who cares? Who cares? People who are commenting anything other than positivity on social media are in some sort of wounded energy anyways. Don't listen to these people. I'm sure that they do not have the relationship dynamic that you desire, so why would you listen to them? Okay. A man who is not ready to provide, this is something that you can easily see whenever you're dating and you're wanting to attract the masculine provider man, is that you can see if someone is ready to provide or not. Yes, we all know the easy way. If he pays for the date, you know, or wants to go 50-50. I mean, obviously that's a red flag. But I personally have never asked someone, or I've never been asked to go 50-50 on a date. So it could be sneakier than that, right? Like, someone still could be able to pay for a date, but they may not be able to fully provide for you or really be in their grounded, healthy, divine masculine energy. There's a big difference, right? Like, a date could only be $100 and that's not a lot. So someone could provide that, and I don't want you to be tricked. Not saying they're trying to trick you, but like, I don't want you to be tricked. Do you see what I'm saying? So I never thought I would get into saying like why you should want a provider, but I think that's the only way to really explain this right now is what's the difference between a man who's ready to provide and what is the difference between this man, and I'm talking difference in like all other areas, not financially. What's the difference between this man and then the man who is not yet ready to provide? So how this is going to show up in the rest of the relationship is so a man who is fully a provider, who has stepped into that masculine role, who has, wants to give to you, wants to provide. He's someone who, of course, bases his career, his business, his job on, what he can excel at, what his passions are, but also has in mind what is going to be the best for his future family. He has been planning this in his head since, it's probably been instilled in his head from his family values since he was a kid. But if not, he has stepped into it. And this is something he's been thinking about and planning for a long time. A man doesn't just provide for you on a whim, right? And like, you shouldn't have to justify it as well. You shouldn't have to manipulate someone into providing for you. Like, that's just not going to last long. It's probably not going to work. Don't do that. So that man who has been planning this for his whole life, one of his main desires is to have a family, a wife, a more traditional lifestyle like that. That is someone who is going to give you, now I don't want to say like give you everything you want, right? But he's going to try his best to. He wants to, the masculine, something that we don't realize is that it's not that it's people pleasing, but the masculine does want to please the feminine. It does. And so this wounded masculine energy that we do see, if we want to talk about like toxic masculinity, I don't want to call it that, but I'm trying to think of an example of this. It's like the men who, there's a difference between men who get wealth because they think that they will get lots of women. And then it's kind of like a flashy sort of thing. And there's the type of man who builds wealth for, to pass down to his children, to provide for his family. Two separate types of things. I think what a lot of women are chasing are the man over here that I talked about. The one who gets wealth in order to, I don't know, is this more like the red pill sort of thing? I think it is. I'm not really familiar with that, but I think that is what I'm trying to explain here. That's a very different vibe. It's a very different man than this one over here. But these two are also very different men from a man who is just not ready to provide financially. And so when you're with a man who is accomplished, who feels accomplished to his core, he is nurturing his own masculine energy. He's really embodying it with his actions every day. Not what he says he's going to do and then never does it. Not the big talk about, oh, I'm gonna, make a lot of money one day and then you'll get everything. Or the, what are the other excuses? Or excuses like, oh, I can't because of this. Or, blaming things on everyone else. That's not the same. You have to go based off of someone's actions and not what they say that they're going to do. So that's a big thing there. If you were for some reason to lower yourself and accept, or maybe you've done this in the past, but accept getting into a relationship, like let's say be a girlfriend to a man who's not ready to commit to you, not ready to provide, that turns into a very emotional situation, right? Everything is then based on how you feel about each other. And that's what most people's relationships are based on. Like, oh, how much do I feel for you this day? Have we ignited that like chemistry spark? Have I validated you in the way that your trauma wanted me to today? Like, that's literally what it turns into, is more based on how do I feel about you today? And how is any relationship supposed to work off of that? Like, no wonder we have a high divorce rate. How is anything supposed to work off of that? Do you, like, at least women, I don't know. I'm not a man, so I don't know how y'all's emotions work, okay? But at least women, like, I can love the idea of something one day and then hate it the next day and then love it again the next day. Like, I can get annoyed very fast, and I change my mind about a lot of things all the time. So why would that be what I wanted to base a relationship off of? Is my emotions really? No, that sounds like a recipe for failure. Now, obviously you want to like and respect this person and grow in love with the person that you do end up with. But having a whole relationship based on like a spark of, oh my God, like we met in, I'm just giving an example story, but like, oh, we met in a bar and like, oh my God, like he bought me a drink and we looked in each other's eyes and like I knew I was in love because that chemistry just sparked. Really? That's love? Really? No, it's not. Now, if you had a relationship that like worked out that way, that's amazing, but I'm not going to recommend that for most people. Like, that is not the way to do it, is to base it off of your emotions. That is how you lose. That is how you lose. So that goes into me saying too, or that goes into another topic, is feeling your nervous system being calm around a man. That is a big sign that he is in his masculine. Because when you're calm, you can be in your feminine. And it's like such a wonderful feeling, because that chemistry that I just talked about in that other story is like fight or flight, like a little bit of adrenaline. Like if you were to get on a motorcycle and then go like 0 to 100 real quick, right? It's like, oh, it's exciting, right? It's exciting, but it's not a sustainable relationship. It's not a sustainable feeling to have for a relationship, because guess what? Eventually, and this is not the honeymoon phase, by the way. I will explain this in a second. But this video is going, I don't even know where this is going, in a different direction than I thought, but I think that this is really, really useful information, so hopefully you're still writing notes. So you can go 0 to 100 in a motorcycle and be like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy, right? Like you get dopamine from it potentially, adrenaline rush, like just like, wow, like that was so exciting. But think about it, like a skydiving instructor, do you think after they skydive 100 times that they are still getting that dopamine hit? That they're still getting that rush from skydiving? Maybe a little bit, but you get used to it. It goes away. Oh, and then people think when it goes away, that's when the honeymoon phase is over, and like, oh, I guess we just have to be in a relationship now, and I'm not really excited. Guess we have to be in a relationship now. We've dated for like 2 years now, so the spark is gone, the excitement's gone, and then people get into marriages like that. It's like the exact opposite way that it should be going. Why do we want it to go that way? Why do we want it to be like, oh, super amazing and super stimulating and like, well, I know why. It's because we're now in like this generation of instant dopamine hits from TikTok scrolling, where people can't even watch a YouTube video this long. I know y'all do, so I'm really excited. People comment and they say something that I said at the end of the video. I'm just like, I love you. But yeah, I mean, we live in a world where instant gratification is what keeps us hooked, what keeps us blind, what keeps us brainwashed. So that's how we go about relationships too. And it's like, well, I would rather it start off based on morals, based on the lifestyle that you want together, based off of something that's actually, my cat's like on my screen, sorry. Based off of something that is actually, you're able to measure if this person is a good choice for you to be with for life, like a life partner. Would you get into business with a business partner because of the chemistry that they had with you? Or would you be like, okay, hold on, let's see if this person is responsible, trustworthy, so they don't steal all my money in my business? Are they, integral with themselves? Are they going to do what they say they're going to do? We think about that with people we go into business with, but not someone that you spend every single freaking day with, that you sleep next to, that you're going to have sexual relationships with, and someone that you're literally exchanging energy with daily. You aren't going to look at who the person that you want to tie your life to accepts into their life as friends, accepts into their life as, people that they hang out around, because there's secondhand energy transfer. Like, that is real. You're not only the combination of the people that you spend the most time around, or the 5 people that you spend the most time around. Who do they spend the most time around too? A phrase just popped in my head. It's like, oh, the rich get richer. Do you know why? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of financial reasons why, but energetically, do you know why? Because the people that they hang around are also wealthy. They have wealth mindsets. And the people that those people hang around also have wealth mindsets. They are not hanging out with people that negate their reality, who are complaining, all that. This goes for relationships too. This goes for inner work. This goes for feminine energy. If you have friends who think men are trash, why are you talking to them whenever you're trying to attract a healthy masculine man? They're going to find something wrong with him. And not in a way of like a friend being, like a nice, like say, okay, if one of my friends literally told me that something was wrong, and like say I was in the dating phase of my life, right? And I was dating someone and I was like, or they said something to me where they're like, I genuinely don't think, I think that this may be wrong, this may be a red flag. I mean, I would trust them 100%. But that's because I now have chosen very, very intentional friends. Okay, let's go into this now too. We're just rambling here. If you want to get married, if you want to date for marriage, it's going to be very hard to be friends with people who still want to be boyfriend and girlfriend with people, who still want to hook up with people, who still want to act like relationships don't matter, pretty much. Act like polarity doesn't matter. It's not going to work. It's not going to work well. It's just, it doesn't vibe with each other. And so surrounding yourself with people who also value feminine energy, who also value men with masculine energy, who they, are already married, or they are wanting to date for marriage too. They have similar values as you. All of this has to be taken into consideration when you are trying to level up your life, especially your relationships and having that polarity. Because anything, like, it's just not worth it. I spent many years I wasn't trying to be nice. I feel like I was so blind. I just feel like I had like this, like this blindfold over my eyes. And so once it gets ripped off. And I spent many years being friends with people who, they weren't on a trajectory towards the lifestyle that I want. And I'm not just talking about material things. That's not what I mean when I say lifestyle. Sure, that has something to do with it, but it's more like, what relationship dynamic do you want? Do you want children? Do you want to continue to improve your life? Or are you just kind of like, you get out of college and you're like, those were the good days. It's only down from here. Now I have to just subjugate myself to corporate, daddy boss and never level up. I'm stuck. I'm stuck with a $30,000 a year job, and that's just how it is. Life's rough. No, get out. I can't even believe that I said those things. But no, you're not stuck anywhere. I even read the comments on, I'm not going to say who it is, but I saw this poll, and it was basically saying traditional relationship. The dad goes to work, the mom stays at home. Is that a dream or a nightmare? And most people answered dream because this specific account was, let's just say more traditional people follow this account. And so cool, awesome. I was like, oh, that's nice, to see that most people on this account wanted that. And then I saw the comments, and one of the comments said, well, if the dad, it depends on what job the dad has. If the dad has a job where he can afford to pay for both of them, then yeah, the mom, of course you'd want that dynamic. But if he doesn't, then the mom would have to work. And I'm like, babe, you missed the point. You missed the point. This is why I'm wanting to put this out here. Especially for girls who are, my age, close to my age, a little bit younger even. This is why it's so important, is because, see, that situation, it should never be settling for that situation. And a lot of people, this is a big misconception. I think a lot of women feel shame for even saying, oh, I want a man who makes, more money. But the thing is, it's all mindset. The more money someone makes is an example of how they value themselves, especially men, because like I said earlier, women are basing their worth off of masculine accomplishments. Okay, that doesn't work for women, but for men, not that you should base your self-worth off of masculine accomplishments, but that is how they feel accomplished. That is how men gain status in the world. I don't know how better to put it, but that's a good thing for men. That's how it fills them up. That fills their masculine energy up, and it's a good thing. And so I'm like, okay, but the thing is that when you are with a feminine woman, or let's say the feminine energy allows a man to want, because the feminine has so many desires. So if a masculine man loves this feminine woman, he's going to want to, even up level his income, start a business, find more ways to make more masculine accomplishments in order to give her desires, and it uplifts him as well. So it's a win-win situation. And this is why the feminine inspires the masculine. Femininity inspires masculinity. And that's really important here, because that comment is so limiting. First of all, like I said with the chemistry, you don't just get lucky with who you marry. You don't get lucky with it. It is intentional. It is intentional. And this is what you can get lucky with. You can get lucky that you're hearing information like this before you enter a marriage. That's what you're lucky with. Because like I said earlier, self-love is forgiving yourself for, making certain decisions or taking certain actions before you knew better. Yeah, you can't wallow around in shame about that. But now that you know better, moving forward and then still making bad decisions is stupid. I learned the hard way. No, stop. Stop saying that. You don't have to. You don't have to. Smart people listen to the people who have already made mistakes or have already learned from these situations. And so you intentionally choose a provider, someone that you already know is going to provide. Or if you're already in a relationship, there are ways to shift the dynamic, shift the polarity to where he does become the provider. And if not, I don't know. That's not a situation that I have dealt with. So I don't want to give advice on I don't want to give information or advice on something that I haven't personally gone through or helped someone with. So not going to say anything more there. But that comment was so limiting in two ways, where what I just talked about, but also it's acting like you're getting lucky with this, with who you end up with. You're just it's like luck, it's like fate. It's like, oh, well, I can't really help it. We're just meant to get married. And then it's also acting like it's luck what income you have. No, that's a decision. People make decisions on how much they believe they deserve to accept how much they value themselves, especially in business. Like you can, okay, so I have my own business here. Did someone tell me that I'm capped at 100K a year? I didn't apply for this. I'm literally sitting on YouTube doing this and I'm making it work, right? And another point, if women can tap into their masculine energy and make an F ton of money and make it work, why are we giving excuses to men to not do that whenever they have like way more testosterone and they're built for this and have been doing it for generations? Just food for thought. But like you applied for the job position that had a certain pay grade. You accepted that. When someone asked you the income that you wanted, you told them and you accepted it. You accepted it. So there's no luck there. Like it's all you accepting things into your life. You can decide not to accept those things into your life. We want to operate from abundance, not scarcity. And this will help in every aspect. This will help in your business. This will help in dating. This will help in, business, dating, relationships, friendships, everything. Everything is abundance, okay? Decide to see it that way because it really doesn't serve you to see it any other way. But this turned into a life lesson. I always come in here to talk about certain topics and it turns into, this is why you should do your inner work and da-da-da. But honestly, I think this is really filled with gems because I know whenever something is good, I don't remember what I said. Does that make sense? Like it just comes through me and then I don't even remember what I just said. So we'll see what the comments say, but I think this is really going to be a good one. I definitely want to start coming on live and doing these because I'm filming these like 46-minute videos and then my computer is really mad at me and running out of space. So I think I want to start coming on lives. Let me know if y'all would like that. I'm going to be honest, it's like a little bit of an expansion for me to do lives. I've done one before, but technology was messing up for me, which is usually a sign that I'm kind of trying to sabotage it, if that makes sense. And I'm like, oh, I don't even want it to work because I don't want to go live. But I think it'd be fun. And yeah, let me know if y'all want that. I want to do it. I want to push myself. So hopefully this was very helpful. I know it will be helpful to someone. So I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next video. And just a heads up, I am completely rebooting my Divine Feminine Dating course. So I'm in the middle of that right now, I believe, when this video is posting. The link's below, but the price will increase once I am done rebooting it and have posted all those videos. And it's going to go up pretty substantially because this is a bomb program. Like, if you enjoyed this video today, you really need to be in there because, especially if you're ready. If you're like ready to date for marriage, get in there 100%. I'm going very raw, unfiltered, savage, if you may, about all of the feminine stuff, the masculine energy stuff, about men, about ourselves. You know, everyone gets the inner work in this course and, well, it's for women, but you will know everything that you need to know for dating for marriage. And yeah, it's going to be amazing. But if you want to work with me one-on-one as well, I'll leave the application below in this video. And since I mentioned it, talking about my Abundant Angels course, I'll leave that below too, because that's really a game changer for manifesting, for having an abundance mindset. It's so much more than that, but I know that a lot of us, myself included, would try to manifest money or, you know, work harder, like grind, hustle harder to make more money. And it did the opposite. And so, or it burns my clients out. Like clients that I work with, yeah, they'll be making like a lot of money, but then I'll help them switch into their feminine energy and run their business from that aspect. And then they'll make even more money while hustling and grinding less and doing more, attracting it and just being in their feminine energy more. So that's really important because we don't want to be super masculine and burnt out, especially if we're in a relationship and if we're looking for a masculine man. That's just going to be like a red flag, a turn off. And that's a sign that you're not truly embodied in your feminine energy. So check out those links below, but I will see y'all in the next video. I love you so much and goodbye.